We are in the middle of one of the greatest times in sports every single year, specifically two things. The Premier League is coming to a conclusion as Chelsea is nearing, basically clinching their trophy, their Premier League trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Shake your head, yes, Francis. Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
I
know you're in there. Awesome.
You got it.
Awesome. NBA playoffs have just begun and are taking a little bit to get to the first round series, but we're kind of now, in my opinion, I love the NBA playoffs. And I also have grown to love the Premier League. And two very, very different systems for determining who is the best year in and year out. The NBA playoffs, 7-game series, a whole bunch of them, 4 if I'm correct, to win a championship. After the regular season, or to make this contextualized with fans of soccer, this season itself is over, there's another season.
Yeah.
For the Premier League, if you are dominant like Chelsea has been, you are going to inch closer and closer, and before the end of the year, there's no playoff system. If you're the best at the end of the season, at the end of 9-10 months of hard play, you are awarded the best.
Yeah.
You are the best in the Premier League. Now, I'm going to throw to you first, Francis, from the soccer aspect of everything, as to why you think that the Premier League has a better system for determining a champion. And you can also, La Liga, Bundesliga, League One, doesn't matter. They all have the same system.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, it's nice to be joined in a panel with you, Jason, and you, Jason, and you, Jeremy, and you, Jeremy. But I would like to, I mean, when we talk about the Premier League, you guys laugh in the background, sorry, I can help it. When you talk about the Premier League, a common argument is that it is over too early in the times of this year. Chelsea are probably going to win it. I think they're playing Leicester at the moment, so don't hold me to that. If they win this game and another game, they've won it.
6 points back.
Yeah, before it. So what happens with that is you have the other argument that you have the Premier League race. I know all soccer fans out there know of the Aguero last-minute goal, arguably one of the best moments.
Who
in
assisted
sports.
him?
Balotelli.
That's right.
Yeah. So I mean, so it doesn't always happen that way. What I think it is the most accurate representation of who's the best team in that league that year. You know what I mean? So because you have the accumulation of all the games, all the points. So if you won the most games, and you will win the league, and you are the best team in that league. Not only are you fighting to win the league, you have the bottom half of the table, which is fighting, which I talk about not just in a soccer standpoint, in a European standpoint, in a league perspective. You're fighting to stay in the league, which makes it so much more competitive. Because in here, if you finish bottom of the NBA, you're bottom of the NBA. You actually get awarded with a draft pick. A draft pick, you don't get relegated down. But I do like the draft picks; it kind of evens it up. But you're not relegated down a different division. So the bottom half of the Premier League, in terms of this year, is the most exciting thing because you have Leicester now, who's winning a good run of games. You've got teams fighting to stay up. And then you've got teams in the lower league, the Championship, trying to get into the Premier League, which is the same system all across the board in Europe. So that's why I feel that the league system is a better decision of the team who's going to be the best and the team that is going to go down, because you guys don't have that part of it. But with the conference system, the playoff system, I do like it's different for me. So I will not have any judgment on whether or not it's right or not. I just feel that does it rarely happen that maybe a 6th or 5th or 4th seed wins, the team that's been the best during the season doesn't win.
Right, that's not rare
You know what I
at
mean?
all. I mean, there's a good chance that, I want to say, the Golden State Warriors are the favorite in the NBA this year. They had the best record overall, which makes them statistically the best team. Although there's arguments for other cases, that doesn't mean they're going to win.
Yeah.
Although if the NBA structure was the same as the Premier League table structure, for Americans, I think it's really hard to wrap our heads around the idea that, okay, it's March 1st, and the Golden State Warriors have won. They are the champions. So Jeremy, obviously, a big NBA fan, big NBA playoff fan. Why do you think the NBA playoffs is a better system for determining a champion?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure if it is.
Good man.
I appreciate the football, if you will. So I mean, when you look at what Francis said, you know, is it rare if one of the 4th seeds or the 5th seeds wins an NBA championship? And you said it's not that rare. So there's two sides of that, right? The one side is it gives everyone a fair shot of stepping up when it matters and winning, right? But of course, at the end of the day, the argument is, well, what does it mean to be the best, right? Does it mean to be statistically the best? Does it mean to win the most games or have the most points? I know hockey has more of a similar approach to that in terms of the points. They have a point system, unlike the NBA and the NFL and MLB. And again, on the other side of the table is, well, how accurate is a representation of best if you go and you compete and you do well in the regular season and then something strange happens in the playoffs and you're not given the respect that you quote-unquote deserve because you have the statistical advantage, right? So there's two ways to think about it. I'm not sure in terms of the playoffs, which one is better? I'm used to the playoffs, and a lot of people complain that the NBA playoffs is too long. It can go on forever, and I would watch it and love it.
More
basketball, exactly. But what I do love is the bottom part of the table. The idea that if you're bad, if you're too bad, you're done. You don't deserve to be in the league anymore. So I'm looking at the Philadelphia 76ers, right?
Right.
So obviously, the idea of tanking has been an issue in the NBA for a while. We like to award bad teams with good picks so that we can even the playing field, but also it gives teams an incentive to lose a lot. We've watched it as Knicks fans and Lakers fans. We are happy because there's a method to their madness supposedly, but nobody wants to see their team lose, right? So I like the idea of having maybe the worst 2, the worst 3 seeds. Obviously, this isn't going to actually happen. Fall down to the D League or something. So so you can suck, but if you suck too much, you're done. Right. You need to find a balance between staying competitive and then being.
I think that in the playoff system, the amount of games that you guys play is an accurate representation of who's the best out of those two teams playing each other in that round, right? So right now, the Spurs are playing the Clippers. The better team is technically going to win the more games because there's no one-off game where you're like, oh, they just luckily won.
Winner go home.
So yes, there's no winner go home. That is good, but it also could be bad because when you look at March Madness, the excitement's there because it's a one-off game and everyone's counting on it. So what I would like to see perhaps in the NBA, maybe your same playoff system, but then when you get to the latter stages, like the Champions League, you have home and away, all the rounds, but then when you get to the final game, one-off game, neutral ground, who's the best in that moment? You still get the cup final style atmosphere. Would that work?
You know what's
like
interesting?
The Super Bowl.
Yes, like the Super Bowl.
Do you know what's interesting about that? You can't do a one-off game in basketball. No. Just like you can't do a one-off game in baseball.
Well, you can if it's college basketball.
Right. Different systems, different.
Well, I don't know, but
totally. I think they're two totally different games. The same end goal, score the most points.
Did they both put the balls in the basket?
I think so. Some teams struggled at that this year, though. So I like the idea, though, of an aggregate score. Like a game like basketball. So
that's going to be a lot of math, Jason.
Well, it's a lot. Not for a 7-game series, for like a 2-game series or something like that. Because I think what's unique about a series is the constant strategy that changes, similar to a leg. Yeah. What you see in the first leg is never the same as what you see in the second leg. Yeah. And that's why it's so hard to predict, at least in my opinion, Champions League, just like it's hard to predict any type of series in any sport across the globe, especially with Champions League, though, and Premier League in itself, when these teams play each other, you see two different sides. You see what goes right if the tactics are strong for Manchester United at this time. Can they go in and beat a Chelsea? Well, no.
You look at Chelsea this weekend. They went to Arsenal. It was probably the most dire game that anyone has ever seen. It was like 4 shots in goal, whatever. But they went for that. They don't need to win now because they know so the tactics change. But
if you know how to win, that's how you got to do it.
Yeah.
I think Jose Mourinho, correct? Yes, Chelsea's boss, right?
I'm so proud. I'm sitting here like a proud father at the end of this table. I'm watching Jason come up with all these facts.
Jose Mourinho was talking, I'm paraphrasing this here, that some people claim that game was boring, but he doesn't think boring means winning titles. Yesterday, between the Spurs and the Clippers, Greg Popovich took on the Hack a DeAndre strategy, which takes their worst free throw shooter and put him on the free throw line, where he missed a lot of free throws. It's boring as all hell. They don't give a shit. They want titles. They want accolades. They want to win.
I mean, the Spurs have kind of, from my perspective, come to the US. People have always took that perspective. Like, wait, how are these guys that are getting a little bit older, you've still got your Tim Duncans, who are in there and they're still winning. And like, what is their strategy? Their strategy might not be the most attractive to the naked eye who doesn't like it. Works, and that's what happens with Jose Mourinho. He knows it works in the Premier League, though. This is what I'm saying. It's different. That's why I love about soccer is you can take it and it's different tactics. They have to go to the Champions League. Doesn't work as well. Right. 2 legs. Some teams can come in.
Specifically England.
Yes, exactly. Specifically with England, but I mean, there's a fair argument to be made on both sides of this. I think that I wouldn't like to see the NBA change their league system because I like coming here to the US and watching this new refreshed view. It's a different game. I wouldn't be opposed if they reduced the amount of games in the playoff system, perhaps in the latter stage. You just make it a home and away. Who's the best in their ground? Who's the best in their ground? And then maybe have a final game that's just neutral. Some place that doesn't have a home advantage and see who wins that game.
Very interesting. Jeremy, any final cases, points to be made regarding what the better determinant for a champion is?
One thing that I always have been confused about, and I think a lot of Americans, when they watch Champions League or any sort of cup soccer, is giving away goals more weight than home goals, right? Now, obviously, so there's the same two-sided of the coin argument again. On the one side, it adds more parity, right? It allows people who, if they're really good on the road, to take advantage of that and be awarded statistically for that, but also at the end of the day, is that an accurate representation of which team is better? That's what you're going to find when you compare these different styles of playoff systems and determining who's the best, right? You have a give and take of parity in terms of who will be able to win, and then accurate representation of who really should win, right? And so if we're ever going to, I'm not sure if we're ever going to actually find an answer to that. I think what soccer does in a lot of leagues works really, really well because they know what they're doing, and that's this system
of the world.
Right, well, most
agrees.
of the world. Yeah, well, okay, but we're here in the
But
United
we're in
States.
America.
That's right.
This is all that
Don't you
matters.
forget, Jason, we're in America.
Right.
We're talking about soccer. That's more than enough, right?
Yeah, we're trying here.
Yeah. But I think, and that's always been my complaint about the NFL. It's kind of a nice medium ground between soccer and the NBA, where they have one game playoffs, right? So at the end of the day, like the New York Giants, right? They were wild card teams coming in, 8-8 both years, and they took advantage of a moment in each game that they played. They only had to win 4 games, but they won the Super Bowl.
But they certainly weren't the best team going into it.
Right. So if the 8th seed in the NBA playoffs won 4 games, that's impressive, but you still might not. You're not going to get out of the second round.
No.
So.
And I swear, I hope it's not the Brooklyn Nets this year.
Well, there you go.
The best way to decide it. Final point. Just similar. We'll just incorporate a free throw shootout. In basketball, like we have a penalty shootout in soccer.
Do you want nobody to watch basketball?
that would be so interesting for me. Someone like Dwight Howard, who's awful at free throws, like the whole championship relying on him making a free throw.
I've always said make the coaches do it, but that's a little unfair because you have someone like Steve Kerr on the Warriors, who is the best free throw shooter of all time.
Statistically, yep.
And then maybe you got someone like Scotty
Derek,
Brooks.
Derek Fisher's the coach, is he not?
Derek Fisher's coach of the Knicks, yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, who are they again? All right, good.
Whoa. Harsh. Very harsh. Just because we support... Yeah, who's Celtic again? I'll keep doing this all day. What do you think is a better determinant for winning a championship? Who is the better team? How does it all work? Premier League or NBA playoffs? Maybe take my side. Take the playoffs. Just for once, world of soccer fans, just hear me out. Hear us out. Francis, catch the pen. God damn it. Don't forget to subscribe.